So I'm back with part 2 of the whole Monique DL Hughley saga. So this is courtesy of Yahoo once again, and it reads, DL Hughley reacts to Monique using daughter's trauma. You are a monster. DL Hughley has fired off again at Monique's remarks about himself and his family on his radio show Monday afternoon. Over the weekend, Monique continued her scorched earth plan of decimating Hughley's character, a continuation of her beef with Hughley over what was originally thought to be a contract dispute. But as the days have gone on, Monique and her husband, Sidney Hicks, have included all manner of attacks, such as disrespecting his marriage, calling him a coward, and reposting a video in which Hughley details his mistakes as a father regarding how he handled the youngest daughter's sexual trauma. On his radio show, Hughley, seemingly with his daughter in the studio, addressed Monique on behalf of his daughter, whom he said was upset and crying over the trauma after Monique brought up her trauma. With his daughter's permission, he also explained the full details of what caused her daughter's trauma. For his daughter's trauma. I proceeded to talk about how I let a man touch my child, which nothing could be further from the truth. He said they were both 13 years old. They were friends that had grown up together. She told me about it years later, and when she told me about it, I'll admit it to this day, denied it. I said, well, that's what kids do. Now, that was my estimation of it. That was not her interpretation of it. And she was hurt by that. I will never forgive myself for not A, believing her, and B, handling it the way I did. He continued. But for Monique to put a man in that room, which never happened, and B, to bring up sexual trauma in an argument that has nothing to do with what you're talking about is unconscionable. You and your husband putting a man in my daughter's room when that is not what I said, and weaponizing it in a trite argument shows exactly how low you are. You are a monster. You literally are. He continued, you didn't play Precious's mother. You let her out. You stopped pretending to be human, and you won an Oscar for being exactly who you are. Who says they love women and are there for women and protect the babies and would trot out someone's sexual trauma just to use it in an argument? He also said that he would never use someone's sexual trauma because he said, that's not where I live mentally. He also said that he will never have Monique on his radio show and around his children. You don't get to break my family, he said. His oldest daughter, Ryan Nicole Shepard, was the first to come out against Monique's use of her sister's trauma, writing in part that she wanted the comedian to keep her family's names out of Monique's poisonous mouth. You've now publicly disrespected my mother, who I love and care for very much, my baby sister, who I love and care for very much, to get back at my father, who I love, respect, and care for very much. At this point, I feel like you're asking my family and myself to act out of character. She on Monique's Instagram page, out of all the things you could have legitimately said about my dad, if that's the route you wanted to take, you chose to be deliberately mean and hurtful to two black women who have nothing to do with this conversation. Using my mother and my sister. Okay, we already went over that. So, basically, so DL, she's a monster. Now, I'm going to say this. DL, once again, you can't get upset. When you first told the story, you told it to basically explain why you was going all hard against Bill Cosby. Because people was upset with you. Because not only was you attacking Cosby, but I don't want to even say attacking, but you was going hard in the paint to make sure Bill Cosby go to jail. You even went to Vlad TV so many times to talk about Bill Cosby. So when the community was upset with you doing that, that's when you was like, well, I'm doing it because I had a daughter who was violated and by someone. Now, you should have said that it was a peer of hers. But because you said that he was a friend of yours, people automatically assumed it was a man. Monique's not the first one to call him a man. She's just the most famous person to do so. But everybody calls him a man who talked about this. So you got to go and get upset with everybody. I assumed it was a man because you said he was a friend of yours. So my question is, how is a person who was the same age as your daughter a friend of yours? They become a friend of yours. What kind of I'm not saying nothing vulgar, but it's just a little bit weird, that part. Now, calling Monique a monster. Monique is not a monster at all. Matter of fact, Monique is very respected, believe it or not. Another thing, too, is that Monique is more respected in that business, believe it or not, than the Hughley. Just look at the resume. Just look at the places she's been. You know, Monique, even when she wasn't getting those roles, because she said that the roles, they weren't the best roles, she was doing hosting. She was hosting reunions. She was had comedy specials. D.L. Hughley has a radio show. He had the show on CNN, but it got canceled. But D.L. Hughley, out of the Kings of Comedy, he never really popped in the movies. Like Cedric the Entertainer and especially Bernie Mac, who had made movies for years. He didn't really pop like that. But Monique did. And I think that's where a lot of the anger comes in with him, is that this fat black woman really made it and got the highest award in entertainment. And here I am having to kiss Vlad TV's ass and get paid for interviews so that I could still be relevant. And not only did he basically go at Bill Cosby, he went at Michael Jackson and the father. He talked about the brothers, the whole family, except for Janet. But he doesn't do that with white people. You know? So, like I said, if you didn't want this to happen and be weaponized, you should have never spoke about it. But you shouldn't have went hard in pain to make sure Bill Cosby goes to jail, especially after when he was released. You was the first one that was like, yeah, he should have never went to jail in the first place. You was one of the people that helped to put him there. And regardless of how we feel about whether you think he's guilty or not, you think he's innocent, the bottom line I have is, I don't like how a lot of people went on Vlad TV talking about the case the way they did. That's my beef with that. So I'm signing off with this topic. Monique, don't even talk about D.L. Hughley no more. As I said in the last commentary, it's not worth it. You're an Oscar winner. You don't need that smoke. The promoter did y'all dirty, but y'all don't need that smoke. It's not worth it. And with that being said, I'm signing off. Take care and have a good night. Later.